Hi, and welcome to my channel. This is DIY with Jeannie. If this is your first time here, welcome. We do crafting, sewing, paper crafts, you name it, we do it. Um, because I have a lifelong crafter and I have done so many things. But we're going to try different things this year and we're going to see how it goes. So this week, I had shown you in the last video an unboxing of a sewing subscription box that I had just recently gotten, and it is for your plastic bags, the grocery bags that we get, and we all save them because we use them for a small bathroom trash can liner, and we use them to carry stuff to and from work for our lunches. Even though I have lunch boxes, I still use these more than anything. So I keep my bags. I always make sure I have a good supply on hand, both here and at school. Um, because you just never know. And they're good for laying it on a table if you're going to paint, if you're going to do different things. So today what we're going to do is we are going to take these two fat quarters and make our plastic bag holder. First thing we need to do is we needed to square it up so that it is 18 by 22 on all sides, on both of them. So I squared them, they're perfect, they're 18 by 22, we're ready to go. Now we are going to fold them in half, a long way, so wrong side out, and we are going to sew a straight seam down this side. Now I am not going to pin it, I don't use pins, because that way I don't get blood all over my projects. I'm a klutz, and it is just easier for me to use these little clips. That way I don't get blood on my material, because that has been a problem in the past. I bleed, If I get a new knife, new craft knife, new anything, if I'm doing something with something sharp, I need to obviously bleed on it before it's worth anything, and I don't know why. So I use these little clips, and they work the best for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to straighten that edge up, and we want to, on both of these pieces, and I'm going to go put a straight seam straight down here, and I believe it is a 1/4 inch, 3/8 inch seam allowance. But generally I do about a 1/4 or a 1/2 inch, and if you do whatever your normal seam allowance is, just use that same one consistently. If it says a certain seam allowance, especially on something like this, the end size doesn't matter as long as you were consistent for each of the things that you sewed. So the inside and the outside, as long as they have the same seam allowance, it doesn't matter what that seam allowance is. There are no seam police that are going to come in here and get mad at us because we didn't do 3/8 of an inch. So I've got that one pinned. Now let's get this one pinned. Take our long area, wrong side out, and we're going to start putting our pins in it. These are fat quarters, so like I said, I just squared them up to 18 by 22 so that I can just make one quick seam down them, and that's all it requires. You grab two fat quarters, some elastic, maybe a little ribbon, and coordinating thread, and you are good to go. So you'll be able to make these fairly quickly, or for you, friends, family, whatever, work, co-workers, or even to sell. So I'm going to put a couple more in this one, and then as I sew along, I just pull them off, just like I would pull a pin out. It's the same idea. Let's get that one on there. Now, my daughter-in-law is the Sunflower Girl, and I did all of her kitchen things. I did her towel topper and her hot mitts and all of that in a previous one, and I showed you each of those pieces. And they're all sunflowers, different variations of fabric. I'm using this, it's still sunflowers, for her bag, And the reason I'm using this one is it's non-directional. A lot of times you're going to get a fat quarter. If you buy fat quarters, make sure it is the direction that you want it. Because I had another piece, but the flowers would have been going across and not up and down, and that was going to be a problem for me. So just make sure that your fabric isn't directional when you're picking it out, because that is going to make it your job more difficult. This one random, I don't need it. If you are going to pick a directional fabric, then maybe you want to pick a fabric that pick and buy it by the yard or the half yard. Half yard would be fine. You could still figure that out. I would go ahead and get a yard, because then it doesn't matter where you lay that. It's going to work out just fine for you. So I'm going to go run a seam here on both of these pieces and iron it open, and I'll be back. Okay, now we have both seams sewn, pressed open. It's in the middle of the back. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is take our outer fabric, and we want to turn this tube right side out. It's really easy because it's big and you can stick your whole arm in it. So here is our outer fabric, and look how cute that's going to be. So we have our outer fabric. Now we want a little piece, a loop, so that we hang it on the wall. And the way I did it was I took a strip of fabric, I folded it in half and ironed it, and then I folded each of those in and ironed them. So what I ended up with is a very small piece that's going to be our loop. Now, this will not go through your feed dogs. The feeder on your sewing machine is out here, and this would not feed through, so it would just sit there and sew in the same spot. So what I did was put tearaway interfacing on there, and that is to stabilize it, and it also will allow it to feed through. And now all I have to do is basically zip this off. So see if I can get it to work really easily for you. So as long as you got one side off, the other side just pulls right off. It's kind of like perforating it, and that's what your sewing machine did. It caused perforations. And now I just pull that paper right off. So I have my little piece that is going to be my loop at the top here. So what I want to do is take this piece, and we are going to put it loop down. So we want it so that the loop is against our fabric, because we're going to sew this top, and we do not want to sew the loop to where it's not going to be exposed when it is finished. So we just want to put that in there. Get that in there straight. It does not want, okay, fine, we'll do it with two of them. So I've got him in there. Got this one. And we only want it on that one piece of fabric, not both. So there is our loop, and it's only on this piece. That better. I want to catch that seam. So there we go. So when it's done, it'll come up like this. But right now, it stays down. Now we take our other piece and leave it wrong side out. And we are going to slide this piece into this piece. Make sure you keep your seams at the same place. Don't put one seam at the front and one seam at the back. So I'll show you what I mean in just a second. Now, come here. So here's my seam, and what I want to do is match it with that one. So let me go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and put a clip there. and we're going to put our tube on. Now we want to take right here where we have our little flap. We're going to match up. So let me take both of these off. I'm going to match that up so that it is on there. And we're leaving the little feet out so that I know A, where it is, but also because I made it a little longer than it had to be. I want to pin that in place. And now we have our two sections together. Make sure we get that all at the top, all at the bottom. You want it nice and even. Can't really see what I'm doing. But what I'm trying to do is line up those edges. So that my top and bottom are done. There we go. Got my seam lined up. So we are all ready. There we go. Got it all inside and outside. It's beautiful. And I'm going to go and stitch around the top part of the tube. And I'm going to start in this area, back stitch, go all the way around, back stitch, so that this stays secure. Wrong area. Wrong side. Sorry, my bad. The part with our little flappies. So double stitch so that that part stays that part is extra secure. Okay, so let me go get that stitched and I will be right back. Okay, we are going to trim those two off that stuck out. Remember, we did that to make sure that we had the length we wanted, because I didn't exactly have the right length when I did it, and you just want a loop. There is no specific. Now we're going to turn it right side out. So let's pull our inner fabric out like this and see our little loop. Now we're going to take this fabric, our lining fabric, and put it on the inside. So let's stick our arm all the way through, grab the edge, and we're just going to pull it to the middle. So I'm going to grab the little hook that we put on. So that's the area I want to hang on to. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to put a seam around this. We're just going to top stitch. It should still keep that real flat. So I want it just about 1/8 of an inch in. So we're going to make sure that we have it all, and I'm going to iron it before I do that. Let's get that all straight. I'm telling you, if you have allergies during the time of COVID, people treat you like you have the plague. Which is fine. I would just assume they didn't get too close. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to iron this real well. And I'm going to put 1/8 of an inch. But before I do, let's go ahead and make the marks. So while I'm back there, I can do the hem and the casing for our elastic. Now, remember, we want elastic down here because we're going to put bags in the top and we don't want them to just fall out the bottom. So let's get everything in nice and smooth. And we want to draw at 1/2 inch for our hem, so where we hem the bottom. So take my ruler and I might line it up with 1/2 inch, which is this really big line. And that way, see how I didn't cut off that waist piece of the fabric because I needed it that length, but I was going to end up with this white, and I knew that that would be part of the hem. So I didn't really worry about it. So if you get that and you go, I don't have enough fabric if I don't cut that waist piece off. So don't cut it off. You're fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to mark it a 1/2 inch on this side. And this is our friction pin. Remember the one that goes away. It's both washable and when you put it in the iron. Now if I were going to put trim on it, I would go up 1 inch and make a mark, and I would put a piece of trim there, but I'm not going to add a ribbon to this because I don't think it needs to be decorative. I think that would take something away from this. So then I want to do 2.5 inches from the bottom. So we have 1 inch, 2 inches, and then this dark line. So we want to go here, make our line 2.5 inches. And then we want to go up another 1/2 inch from that line. And this is the pocket we're going to put our elastic in. So see, I've got my lines that I sew on. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to do the same thing. I want 1/2 inch. That is where I'm going to hem it. Then I want 2.5 inches for my, so 1, 2.5 for my elastic pocket. 1/2 inch from there for the top part of my elastic pocket. I'm just going to make a straight stitch on all 3 of these. Well, not that one. For this line, we are going to fold in and iron, and then we'll fold this one in and iron, and we will hem it on top. So it'll have a straight stitch on top, just like the top will have the straight stitch across it here to finish off the edge. So let me go make those, and we will then put in the elastic, and it should be done. So I will be right back. All right, we have all of our seams in, and you can see the red ink is gone. What I did was I just sprayed it with water or steam it. Anyway, I don't use steam in the machine. I just spray things down and then I iron on top. And the heat and water will actually take that ink right off. I didn't do anything else. That is all I did, was sprayed it and heated it. Now, here's our elastic. It's going to go through this little tube. But the way we're going to get it to do that is I'm going to go back in, and this seam right here, I'm going to actually open back up. And I could have left it, and probably should have left it, but didn't. And it didn't say to, but I might in the future when I do it again. So you just want to open that up so that we can stick our, see how I opened it back up? I just ripped the seams. So now we are going to take our threader. We're going to take the small one. I'm pretty sure that's going to be the right size. And you can do this with a safety pin. This is not something you have to have. I just wanted to test it out. Never used it, so ta-da. But what happens is just kind of like overalls where you stick it through and stick it through and it will hold on. Probably should have gone the other way, but didn't, so therefore. There we go. Yeah, let's do this. Start at the top and go down, because see, it's going through the opposite way, so this should theoretically keep it in. Let's see how that works. There we go. So it's in there. We're going to take that open spot that we cut back open. We're just going to start by feeding that through. Same thing if you have a safety pin. Does the same idea. This is just a little longer. Now, one thing that I will caution you on, make sure you hang on to that tail, because you do not want it to go in, or this is all for naught and you have to do it again. We're just going to keep feeding. and it is just going through that little gap. And almost to the other side, you can see it coming up. And I just want to exit where I went in. I did not. Oh, this is where the safety pin would have come in. So let's pull it back out and we'll try again. There we go. Now we have it back out. Pull that through. And what we'll do is go back and we can either tie it or sew it in. But there is our little, actually let me go sew this real quick. What I'm going to do, and I'll show you what it looks like when I get back. Okay, so what I've done is I went back and forth over this a few times. That is nicely sewed together. Now I'm just going to let it go back into that little hole, and I can come back and hand stitch that closed. But there is our holder. I could go back in and make that tighter, and I might because I feel like that's a little big. So let me pull that out. But anyway, so there is our holder. You can hang it on the wall with their hoop and fill it with bags, and that would be adorable in your kitchen. Like I said, you can add lace around the bottom, you could add rickrack, any kind of little decorative hem on there, and it would just be beautiful. But this has got a beautiful pattern all by itself. I decided to just leave it the way it was. And I hope you enjoyed this. I did just order 2 more boxes, craft boxes. They are art journaling, so water painting, doing multimedia inside of a journal. I do bullet journal, and I really enjoy it. It keeps up with my days and my filming and all of that. But I really like to do the art as well, and I thought that would be fun for us to look at and look into. I have this finished this week. I think we'll do 1 or 2 more sewing projects. I do have another dangle project coming up that we might do next, so that we take a break from sewing. We're doing that quite a while. And I have some t-shirt modifications that I also want to show you. So there we go. We have finished our kitchen set, one of them, and now I am ready to ship this. So thank you for coming on this journey with me. I appreciate the fact that you spent some time with me. I hope that you like this content. If you do, please give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment below. What kind of crafts would you like to see? Would you like to see more sewing? Would you like to see, I'll be doing quilting as well, making quilt blocks, and I think that'll be fun. So if that's something you're interested, let me know. If you'd like to see more repurposing of other clothes, or just making our own patterns and making clothes and small bags and putting a zipper in and things like that, please let me know in the comments, and I will see you next time.